Welcome to today's episode of CLCI Live, brought to you by the award-winning and ICF accredited school, Certified Life Coach Institute. Sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. I was dancing to the music.
I know. I've done it.
I'm glad it's only 30 seconds, but I was dancing to it.
30 seconds on rock out. It's like a little mini jam session. Before we start and get into the nitty gritty, big reminder to everybody watching, please make sure you join in the conversation. And if you like what we're doing, make sure you support by clicking that subscribe button, whichever way it is, or that like button, that share button, click buttons. And also, please, we want to hear from you. We are monitoring the chats to our best of our ability, and if you say something awesome, we might even feature it. So let's go ahead and start. I'll let somebody else take over from here. Who's it gonna be?
We're done. We're done with self-sabotage.
Oh, thank goodness.
We're no longer talking about self-sabotage. We're not talking about coaching 101. Balance.
Oh, I thought we were talking about sabotaging other people.
No.
That's the fun sabotage.
We'll talk about that next month.
Yeah.
We're talking Balance 101, not Coaching 101. That's our class. Balance 101. Work-life balance. Is that what we're doing today? Yes, the balance between work.
Anthony has just no idea what's going on.
I haven't read any of the stuff
He
today.
has no balance.
Right.
Actually, maybe he does have balance, and that's why he didn't read the things that
No,
Because I think that's my excuse. That's my excuse. No, I'm just kidding.
So
who feels balanced?
in the work life,
I do, actually, very
balanced. Yeah, I do too. Brooke and Lisa, I feel extremely balanced. I love my job, and I have no complaints.
Thank you, Anthony. We appreciate you.
Mhm.
Wait, so no one else feels balanced?
No, I certainly do.
I do. Okay.
That's because I work pretty hard
good.
at it, I think.
Yeah.
I try to.
I have my moments.
I have my moments. Yeah.
Yeah. Where I'm like one way or the other way, or get overwhelmed. When there's a project that I'm like, how do I even begin this? And then I feel, is it unbalanced or imbalanced? I think imbalanced, right?
Balance.
Yeah, it's
Imbalance.
But once I figure it out and I get going, and then balance is back. So
I have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Are we saying that work is not life when we say work-life balance?
Here we go.
Yeah, I think it's work personal, right? Work
Yeah.
personal.
Yeah. Because I think that work is still life. Like, we're still living when we're working, and it's a part of life. Anthony, you look like
I was got to say, sometimes people's personal lives are intertwined with their work lives, and you can't really help that. Not
Yep.
speaking from personal experience.
Well, I mean,
it's inside secrets, apparently.
yeah, especially when you're first starting out building a business, it's really hard to identify, like, when am I supposed to call it quits, right? So it's like I can be working till 7, 8 o'clock at night on a few things when I really shoulda, coulda, woulda stopped a couple hours earlier to have my dinner and just read or rest. So it can very easily get out of balance.
Starting a new business is really tough because you do have to put in that extra time and energy in creating and supporting and marketing. Everybody forgets about that marketing piece. They want that part to go away.
Yeah.
That can cause some stress for sure.
And I think one of the other things that comes into play is maybe a perception that work-life balance is a static element, that it's the seesaw that's completely parallel to the ground, rather than sometimes we might be a little bit here and sometimes we might be a little bit there. And it's that fulcrum of creating balance that something doesn't tip all the way over. And if we try to get too rigid in that.
And then to just sort of complement what Brooke and Dan said, as soon as you frame your life as a work-life balance sort of thing, you've already made a distinction between the work life and the personal life, and there has to be a balance. So as soon as you introduce those terms, you're already kind of thinking black and white about it, but it's very reasonable because most people work a 9 to 5 job and then they clock out. They don't think about the job anymore. They try to just focus on other things. But
Where they say they don't think about the job anymore, and that's where the imbalance comes.
they bring the job home, or they bring the work and personal stuff to the job.
Well, and I think too, there's something that can happen, right? Like if we find a job that we're passionate about, we're excited about, and we want to learn more about, it can become something that, I don't know, I can obsess over, where I can start to, when I'm just doing other things, it can begin to sort of permeate into my personal time just because I'm interested, right? I read books about self-help and things like that, and improvement, knowing that I can use these tools at work, but also knowing it'll benefit my personal life, and that's the benefit of what I do. But I know for a fact, like little things, I'll think about things when I'm not working, and I think that's just a part of who we are. I don't know anybody that can really fully shut it off, and they're just, I mean, I know it exists, and just that's this and that is that. It feels so separate to, like, what I do at work stays there, what I do at home stays here, but I think that we can't deny that they have an effect on one another and are gonna, I mean, I think that's impossible to say.
Well, also, like, most people's job pretty much informs how are they going to live their personal life, like what social class they're in, what sort of housing they're able to afford, where they can live, friends that they make, through work. It seems that the people's work lives very much affect their personal lives. Another example could be like your health insurance, which there's critique on in the United States that our health insurance is tied to our employer, and that's not something that can be helped, but our work lives have a tremendous effect on the personal lives, whether or not you think about or talk about or bring home work into your personal life. It affects it regardless.
And
Well, not everybody's employer offers health benefits.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
And kind of thinking about this collection of the 7 of us, there might be a little bit of a bias in this room when it comes to work-life balance too, because I think I can speak pretty broadly for everybody sitting here right now that we all love what we do.
No,
And
I absolutely made it.
Oh, you mask it really well. I think about me 10 years ago when I was miserable and I had no work-life balance because I was putting everything into the work, but I was building it for somebody else, not for me. That's when I was really out of whack.
That's a really good point. Like, if you're doing something that isn't filling your cup, like that's draining you, I could see how exhausted you would be at the end of the day, and how like you just wouldn't have extra energy for other good things. Like, and it's true, we probably all have a bias here because we have a profession that fills our cup to some degree, right?
There is scheduling. When I was scheduling back-to-back clients throughout the day, I would have 7 or 8 clients throughout an entire day, which is a lot of clients. Oh my gosh, that's a lot of clients. And while I was exhausted, it's a good exhausted. It's a different exhaustion than when you're doing with what Dan said, that work, doing the work that doesn't fill your cup. With that said, you still have to find balance within that, because you can get overly tired as well.
Yeah.
Well, I think too, what Anthony was saying earlier around the jobs, we also have to find a way to focus on our outside of work life. Because if we don't focus on doing the things that bring us joy, then we're absolutely going to be miserable if we don't like the work that we do. But if we can find time to say, okay, in my personal life, these are the things that are important to me, and I'm going to make what effort I can to get those in, so that when I go to work, maybe I'm miserable, but I have something to look forward to when I leave work.
Yeah.
So I think that some people can make work run their lives, and some people can let life run their lives. And so that when they go to work, they know, okay, this is just my today job. I'm going to do it. But when I get out of here, I got the money to do. In fact, I met somebody in the subway in New York who was very excited because he was off to Fiji and he was going to spend a whole week with his family. And he said, I hate my job, but it can afford me to go anywhere in the world. And he was so happy. He was like, so he goes into work every day kind of saying, okay, I'm grateful for this job. I'm not sure that I like it. In fact, I know that I don't like it, but I'm going to Fiji for a whole week with my family. And he got to pay for everyone to go. Like, he had the money to do that. And this is somebody I met on the subway. And it's like, because I was like, you hate your job? Like, you really, really hate it? He said, I really hate it. But he every day he was looking forward to this trip. And he's got other trips that he was planned. So I think it's about, not everybody can have a job that makes that much money, but, finding that balance between what you love to do if you can't find it in your work life.
Can we for a moment celebrate that Misha was able to get a complete stranger she met on the subway to give her that much information about his life and what he was doing?
You guys don't know me well enough, but this happens everywhere.
Yeah, no, it does. It happens to us, all of us, because of who we are and what we're doing. It totally happens, without a doubt.
My kids hated it. I'd be getting off an airplane. What friend did mom make today?
Oh my gosh.
I'd be in the grocery line having conversations, and my children, when they were younger, not so much now, but when they were younger, Mom, stop talking.
Gosh. And
they're like, have some chit chat balance, Mom.
Okay.
And
So,
what Misha was just talking about there reminds me of a quote that I heard probably back in the 80s when I was still living on the East Coast, of the difference between the East Coast and the West Coast of the U.S., that the East Coast lives to work and the West Coast works to live.
Yeah.
I've definitely noticed that at working here with either clients or like people who've done group stuff, the East Coast people are very work focused, gotta get things done as fast as possible. West Coast, laid back. Which it's like whatever, like.
And of course, we are stereotyping right now, folks. Generalizing.
Midwest flyover state people, we don't talk about.
That's what happens in Kansas City, by the way. Just calling that for.
So I mean, one of the things we talked about, and we talked about even in self-sabotage and stuff, is burnout and everything. But how does this idea of work-life balance show up in clients for us?
Yeah, so a lot of the times, for example, I had a family that came in that they wanted to talk about the balanced life in their family life, but they really had to talk about their work life. So that had to be a deciding factor on how much time they were committing to that space. Another person could be that, like whoever was talking about, I think we all kind of touched into the person who didn't like their job, but they used it for various reasons. So they had to give themselves a prize at the end, which was what Misha was talking about, the vacation to Fiji, right? So a lot of people utilize that work-life balance in an imbalanced way until they talk to someone and can start ironing out what's important.
What I notice with them is their energy's way off because they're so far out of balance and drained because they haven't been filling their cup. That when they come in, they're just exhausted because they've been giving typically to the job that's really about building something for somebody else, and they're so committed. They're giving all of even their peak energy. The idea from Isaiah Henkel that we think that time is our most precious commodity. We all get 24 hours. That really our energy is, because we all get only 4 or 5 hours of peak energy every day. And some of us are morning, some of us afternoon, some of us evening. And reserving that time for ourselves, that's what we put into our personal projects when we know when it is. But they typically, the clients are giving it away until they know that.
I think maybe another example.
Well, with that.
Oh, go on, Michelle.
Oh, go ahead. Well, there was a quote that I read today, which was, remember, your attitude determines your direction. A positive attitude is the path to a happy life. Likewise, a negative attitude leads to a path of stress and disappointment. True happiness is cultivated from within. Your mind is the best and most powerful tool for creating a happy life. Choose happiness and everything else will fall into place.
So, I mean, that's what's funny is that brings forward one of my other things I do is I teach Pilates and things like that. And they keep trying to
Brave woman.
get me to take a morning class to teach Reformer. And Reformer for me, when I teach it, is I'm giving a lot of energy, but I'm not moving my own body. So I'm really focused on other people when I do that, focus on their form. And so it can be a lot of giving for me. But so there was a moment where I started to feel like, okay, I'm feeling kind of drained in this space. Like when I'm moving my own body, I'm a very kinesthetic person. I have a blast, right? Because I can challenge myself, I can challenge others. But in this space, it's really about that other person, right? It's about those other people. And it's not about me in any, I mean, it feels like in any way to some degree. And Allie, the owner, was like, well, I don't want you to burn out. And had this whole thing. And I was like, well, I think that burnout is as much a mental thing, right, as it is anything else. And I think that if I look at the weeks that I feel really exhausted and I don't want to do it, I'm sick, I've got all these other things going on, or I'm stressed, and it's a spillover. So I'm like, I don't want to say that because right now I'm feeling stressed or drained in this space that is how it's going to be forever, right? But I'm also very cautious about adding more things in as well. But I think it's a matter of attitude change. Like you said, if you choose to go in and make this a happy space, find a way to look at it that is positive, you can approach things in a different way. Anthony, we were talking about something. I think you were talking about your fear of flying, and he was like, I have to fly. And I was like, how about you change that to I get to fly?
No.
I get to go.
How about no?
I get to go.
It's actually true. It's actually true because not everyone gets to fly depending on what time period you're living on this earth, right? I mean,
It causes so much emissions. It's bad for the environment.
Oh no! Well, no. But by switching from something from I have to I get to, it's like, well, you're looking at it between. It goes from being a responsibility to being an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there is something to that, and it's about reframing. I mean, how much is possible? There's obviously miserable things that are miserable for us that we have to get through, but is it possible to change that from work to something you might enjoy? Can you do that as a human being?
Well, and going back to the question, I'm sorry, I'm laughing at the chat. Okay, going back to the question that Lisa asked, how does this impact our clients? You know, I do believe in this case, it can be about us. Because if we're not balanced, if we're not walking into our sessions with at least a 3/4 cup, you know, that's going to pour over into our client's mood and attitude. And I know that I would love to at some point be able to make an amends to one of my clients because I was not in a good shape last year. I was having a really hard time. And I believe to be true that they probably felt it. And so, you know, trying to figure out like, how am I balancing my own self-care and my own kind of awareness so that when my clients show up, I am fully present for them. I have the energy to give them.
Yeah, I had to have that early conversation with a client earlier this year. I was feeling really run down, borderline sick, and it was a big client. We had a meeting, I think it scheduled for 4 or 5 that afternoon, and I sent a message to him saying, I'm not sure that I can be fully present for you. If you need me to rally, I can be there, but I'm not sure that I'm fully present tonight. And if it's okay with you, let's push off to another week. And he just said, no, that's awesome. That's great. Let's meet next week instead. And
yeah, but you're aware of that for yourself. And a lot of coaches are still kind of like trying to figure, but I need to make money. I need to get into the session. But I always say desperation ain't going to get you the clientele that you want.
Yep.
Well, and exactly, because you're not going to be at your best self. And if you're not at your best self, being in that open space, you've got to take care of yourself in that moment versus trying to take care of somebody else.
Yeah, and when you shared that, sorry, Lisa, I didn't mean to cut you off. Dan, when you first shared that story to me, I remember you said, I don't think I'll be a good thought partner. And I thought that
That's
was
right.
so powerful because it's like, yes, that's exactly what it's about. If we can't be fully present, we can't be an adequate thought partner. Yeah, I love that.
Right.
I've said that since then when I wasn't feeling well. I was like, that's the perfect way to say it.
How many times have you said it? I need to charge you for them.
He gets a commission every time you say it.
That's my work-life balance, is getting commission from other people using my lines.
Only if you can capture
Yeah, cha-ching, cha-ching. Uh-oh, where did Anthony go?
I don't know. We lost him. He'll probably be back.
He should be back.
I think a cat took
I have
over.
an example of where I did not follow those rules. Most of you have heard that story already, where I was not feeling well. And then the last set of the seventh client came in, I passed out.
Oh my gosh.
Among other things.
Well, there's a shock factor.
Among other things. They said, we never had anybody fall asleep on us. I go, well, I wish it was fall asleep, because that certainly wasn't that. But other things happened as well during that time.
Oh my
So yeah,
That's right.
didn't realize I was not feeling well that well.
wow.
Wow.
So then how does a coach determine what their number is, like, of maximum, you know?
When you pass out, you know that's not the number.
There it is.
Go one lower than the pass out. Got it.
Yeah.
I think maybe, Jen, were you asking perhaps how do we make sure we don't get
Yeah.
to that number?
That's probably the better question, right?
Yeah. Right. How do you know how many clients is too many for you?
I if I'm going to go for the rule of thumb, right? I felt perfect at about 5 clients, which means I'm working with 2 people at the same time. So that might resonate differently for each of you. And my sessions typically were about 80 minutes. So again, that could resonate differently for the 2 of you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I pretty much was in the same space, because when I do hypnotherapy, those sessions are 2 hours, where my coaching sessions are either an hour or 90 minutes. And I hit that wall right around 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a little bit of a cushion and flex to 6, but after 6, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
Those are long coaching sessions. I only do 45 minutes.
Yeah. And,
I mean,
I've done 30-minute coaching sessions as well, and they're very impactful because
yes, they
also
are.
recognizes they have a shorter time and they're not going to BS so much.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They come to work.
Yeah.
Focused.
Give me the nitty gritty.
But I also know other coaches, they do 3 and 7 hour coaching sessions with one, either.
I have known coaches that do that.
Yeah.
Like, it's usually just the intro session where they like break them.
Yeah. That's really balanced.
I knew it was cool extreme, and then the ones I did know, there's like other elements that are coming into play that we're not sharing. But essentially, it was like this big, like, hardcore. Let's get into what the things are, so that then it's like peeling layers back and building that trust. And it takes sometimes those long first sessions to do that. I think 3 hours would be way too long for me as a client, but some people want that. I don't know, not me.
I mean, is it like certain cults where you don't even get a bathroom? Because I would
Only for you, Misha.
Man.
In the beginning,
Now, it's not possible.
That's like the what is it, Bingram yoga, where like hot yoga, where they would like yell at you if you wanted to go pee. like no, it's horrible. But I mean, so we talked a bit about how
The Lord of the Rings coaching session.
Extended edition.
That's good.
oh, that's
how
good.
us as coaches need to keep our life balance with clients that are out of balance when it comes to work and life, and they're coming in to do more work, like, to figure out work related things. Is it our responsibility as a coach to shine a light on the imbalance?
So if they're coming,
They shine a light, but you give them the flashlight and they can do their own, searching.
so as you said that, when you get into that reflecting back that what the client is saying, you can ask them, how does that show up for you? What do you notice that you've just shared? Here's what you just shared. What do you notice in that? And a lot of times they can recognize, that imbalance.
And we can also, from that space of hearing them, really hearing and listening, as we in the coach's chair start noticing a pattern, we can share the pattern we're observing without attachment and say, what's that mean to you here? That might get them noticing it a lot faster and taking ownership.
So,
Which even with that, in the balance of coaching and who we are as coaches, I'll ask the client, I'm noticing a pattern. Can I share it with you? Right? Because they may not want to know.
Certainly had that happen.
Wait,
Yeah.
you had someone say no?
Back a step.
Dan, you've had someone say no when you've asked, may I share a pattern I'm seeing?
Yeah. Weren't ready for the dive yet. That's okay. That's where they were.
Yeah.
with
Before, when I said it's the Lord of Rings coaching session, I just want to give credit to the person who typed that in, Joy and Success, because I didn't come up with that. So Joy and Success, I don't know what your first name is, but thank you. That was
Joy.
hilarious. There you go.
Lord of the Rings coaching session. Does that mean the time is precious?
It was like the 3 hours saga,
The time is precious.
we know you were sharing about patterns and about noticing our clients being out of balance. Can you give me any examples of how that might show up, like actual tangible examples of what things clients might be saying that might be?
I've got
the patterns might look
Yeah,
like.
I got one from the article we were reading in preparation for today. Let me find it because I did a screenshot of it.
While you do that, let's hear from Anthony.
I was gonna say one of them. This is maybe 2 or 3 clients ago. I can't remember, but they found themselves kind of stuck in their own puzzle. Like there's some fundamental incompatibility with what's going on, because as opposed to Dan's maybe example where he was able to just say, you know what, let's do this next week. This person had work obligations where the obligation came from work. They were obligated to stay for financial reasons, and also from their personal life. Essentially, you can't leave this job because this takes care of the mortgage, of bills, of credit card debt, things like that. And they have worked, from their point of view, they've worked themselves into a point in their life where they can't leave the job and they can't pursue their passions, and the work-life balance was all off. And they, from the first couple of sessions, they seemed very unsure about how to even begin to resolve this. There's a lot of...
That's very normal. What you're describing, Anthony, is very normal for many, many people.
You just described my life 11 years ago.
Yeah.
So they felt like they'd worked themselves into a corner, essentially.
Yeah.
There was no.
And then there was a lot of lamenting, I guess, maybe about the past, where it's I wish I would have known this maybe 5 or 10 years ago, so I didn't work myself into this corner.
Yeah.
And now, because of that, I'm stuck here, and I don't know where I should go to try to resolve this, or if I should just give up and accept my horrible life.
That's where that's the same energy that I read in this quote from the Harvard Business Review article. And the quote in the paragraph is, of course, the professionals we talked to all led very busy lives. Many of them explained that they didn't normally have the time or the energy to stop and reflect, and even express gratitude for the reflection space and the interview process itself allowed to them. Victim energy. And I'm getting really pushy on that, because to say I don't have time to is giving away the control of your time and letting someone else dictate it. And it's what I used to do as well. When I was in that same space as the person you described, I was thinking everybody else was in control of me and in control of my time, because they were paying me, so I owed them whatever I thought I owed them, until the day that I snapped and threw up my hands and walked out.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that broke the pattern for me, because that next morning I walked out on a Friday. That Saturday morning I woke up, I still had a mortgage, I still had to buy food. I didn't know if I was going back to that business or not, but I knew right then I was out the door. It was the freest I ever felt. And when I did go back the following Tuesday to have a meeting where they jumped all over me, and we eventually came to an agreement that I would continue my employment. I would continue my employment, not them. The relationship was entirely different because the freedom of that weekend put me back in control of my life, no longer giving it away to them. And that's a huge thing for clients, helping them to navigate that space of, it's not that you don't, you're making the choice not to. And when we bring it to active choice of what do you want to create, we're here going forward. Maybe you didn't, maybe it would have been great to know it 5 years ago. Certainly. We're here now and you know it. How do you want to make up for that lost time?
And that's great. I scrambling, doing research for this today. There's one quote that I wrote down, and it's pretty much touching exactly as to what you just said. If you don't design your life, someone will do it for you.
And I certainly allowed them to do it for a long time.
So, Dan, can I ask you, if you hear the client say, I don't have time, how do you invite them to consider that they're making the choice to not have time? Like,
tell me more about not having time. Where's your time going?
I've asked clients to like, okay, can you spell out like your day or your week for me so like I can understand better? And they'll be like a few hours or like, hours sort of here and there. I'm like, well, what's going on there? And it's like, well, I'm just so exhausted from X, Y, and Z that I just, watch TV, do something else that's not what I should be doing. I say, okay, well, we have a collection of hours throughout the week now, about 20 or so, 25 hours as an example. What would you like to do with that instead? And then, so I've told them, can you please lay out and go over the hours for me so I can understand?
For 1 second, coaching hat off. Everybody out there that like beats themselves up for relaxing and watching TV, it's okay to relax. That is probably exactly what you should be doing in that moment, because you probably don't need to pull your time from that relaxation time. You probably need to pull it from somewhere else. But anyways, that's coaching hat off for a moment.
And
hug everybody.
If I could steal that thought for a second and tie into Anthony's discussion around that one client who feel like they painted themselves into the corner. The best thing to do if you feel like you've painted yourself into the corner is just pause and let the paint dry, and then walk your way out.
So what about the client that has no time to watch TV because their life is so incredibly full from family responsibility? It's just go, go, go. And they're literally just like, they're surviving. They're not even,
fire your family. That's all you
No, it's what you're talking about is the person who doesn't know how to say no.
It's kind of like the what is that matrix that we use or that is used sometimes where it's like, okay, what needs to be done? What can you delegate, and like what can you just like
It's originally from I think it was Eisenhower that originally did that.
Yes, the Eisenhower matrix.
Yeah, it's the importance over it's critical and versus important, and then you measure it out, and it tells you if this is critical and important, then you need to do it. If it's critical but not important, then you can delegate it. And so like it tells you sort of it's just about time management and when to attack which things, and then I think that's a big scary thing for people a lot of times too, though, is asking for help and being willing to delegate things to others and like let go of that control. Do you feel like people who are having issues, like Jen said, that person that is go, 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 packing life in? I know it's easy to say that they have trouble saying no, but could it also be a layer of this person that has to do everything for themselves and is afraid to trust others?
It's still the
Busy people know how to be busier.
Yeah.
I think it's still the same thing, the inability to say no because I want to be in control. It's kind of built around each other. If I delegate this is not going to be done in the manner upon which I like it. I mean, I kind of was guilty of that, right? I didn't let anybody answer phones forever. And then I did. And then it became easier. And then,
Oh, how that changed from the days of just Lisa and Brooke answering phones.
Now it's who's answering the phone?
Thank goodness.
Or is it who's not answering the phones?
Who's not answering the phone?
I love so much about answering the phones, but I was so okay with not. I'm like so okay with not having to do it now. I mean, it's such a cool experience to be able to like get on the phone and talk to people and connect with people, and it is.
Yeah.
There's coaching moments, there's growth, like there's all these awesome, really special moments that happen. But I'm so, and I yes. On some level, there's a bit of me that misses it, but on another level, I'm so happy other people do it.
when the periodicness that I answer phones now, it's like, oh, I missed this. Well,
So fun to talk to you.
and especially if I get a person who, took one of my classes or was here 10 years ago, it's so fun to catch up with that. But then, other work gets waylaid and things, so.
It piles up.
Joy and Success asked, how long can a change like that take to implement? I'm thinking they're referring to the change from, a work-life balance. You're kind of stuck in a corner sort of situation. I think we've talked about coaching in general. Like you'll start to see results after 3 to 4 months.
Let's
Kind of a longer.
When the client really starts to own it, according to the Gottman research, is 12 hours. When they're living into it, there's a whole lot of forward, backward progress up to that point. Then it really starts to anchor it around 12 to 14 hours.
And that's kind of an average, but someone can make a decision right now and it can change right now. As is, I can be working those steps of change and it can be, months down the road. So it just really depends on your mindset too.
I think too, because I think we have to start with changes that happen right now. And I think the distinction is when that making that change now and dealing with it and it feeling uncomfortable to that becoming the norm, right? Like that's what I'm used to. And when you feel out of whack, when that change isn't happening, it's really like creating that habit that's sticking. And I know like I've changed what I consider changing my entire life over the last 2 years. And some of those changes happen lickety split. Like, oh my God, this has got to happen. But then it became about developing feeling comfortable in what that change now so that it becomes normal and it becomes what I'm used to. And it's building, I think it's just like building those muscles. Even when it came to changing my whole nutrition, my diet, the way it working out, I took it one thing at a time, but really I only implemented changes like every 2 weeks. I would add in, I'm going to drink water for the next 2 weeks. And then that would pour over to the next thing and it would stick with me. But I still have to revisit it and remind myself to do those things and remind myself I want to. So I don't know that it ever becomes a permanent part of you. We've always got to sort of have some level of awareness, I think, behind what we're doing and what our choices are. It's not like, all of a sudden, boom, click, change, and it's nothing. We never have to think about it again, right?
I think it's a good point, though, for the coach to hold the possibility that the change could be very quick or it could take time, right? To not be committed to this idea of how long the change should take in the coach's mind, right? I mean...
Right, because there are layers. You gotta peel back some layers sometimes, and sometimes the people have already done that work, and so really it was just this one burning issue, right?
Also, the change already happened prior to the coaching session because they had to make the decision to start coaching in the
To
first
come to
place.
choke, yeah,
So
exactly.
whatever moment that caused them to be like, I gotta change, I gotta fix my life, I gotta be a different person to achieve the goals I want. Whatever that critical moment was, happened prior to the coaching session.
Yep, and it happened
It happened without you, and now you're in the process. Unless you're a really good marketer, then it happened because of the coach and the crazy marketing skills. But most of the time, not.
It still happened because of the person, and then decided to make that change. I think that's a very powerful point, and I think it's also fair to remember that a change might be implemented, and at any moment, something could sideswipe, you stumble, you let go, little things happen, and we may not even realize it, and that's okay. Like, we have to allow a space to empathize with our clients when the changes mess up. I've been doing so good for the last month, and then all of a sudden, boom, right? That's okay. Like, You're human. Like, don't give yourself empathy and don't let that define you. I like with dieting, one of the things that was so powerful for me, and it's, is that people will beat themselves up and punish themselves when they have a slip day, like when they, splurge and eat ice cream, and then so what do? They punish themselves the next day. They starve themselves. They overwork out. But all of those things that they do to punish them for that choice they made actually is bad for them. It's detrimental. It causes them to suffer. It's so much better to have empathy for yourself and just go, it's okay. It happened. Don't hold on to that. And we have such a problem with self-empathy. And I think that being a powerful space for our client where they can be, you're there for them and it's okay that change isn't perfect. That change isn't, that you misstep. That's fine. It's the baby walking analogy, right?
Yeah.
Babies fall all the time. They get up and they've walked a few steps and they stumble.
Punish them.
But they get back up and they try again, and they don't beat themselves up for falling down.
They cry sometimes. I don't know, but yeah, they don't.
And that even ties into the neuroscience of the client who's expanding their comfort zone. They haven't been out there before. They haven't been outside of this sphere. So we expect that we're going to be fine out there, and then when we stumble, we beat ourselves up. But it's brand new territory. Why do we think we should be successful immediately? Which might then lead into sabotage and go back to last month's topic. But that idea of the expansion, if you're not stretching, you're not learning. And if you're not falling down, you're not learning into something new. It's actually something to be celebrated.
Absolutely. The new pattern is not developed. It's beginning to be developed. And as you exercise the fall downs, the experiments, the failures, the successes, just like you're talking about, that new pattern develops. That old pattern doesn't go away either. So you're also having that old pattern rear its head at the same time as you're trying to develop the new pattern. And that's, which does that, there's that metaphor, which wolf will you feed? That
Yeah, that old pattern comes and just grips for dear life. Like, don't leave me, you need me.
So I found a quote while Dan was saying what he was saying, and then Lisa kind of added to it. So by Charlotte Freeman, I hope that you have the courage to choose yourself over and over. I hope you have the courage to move forward, not backwards, to choose growth over comfort, to choose possibility over the past. I hope you know how worthy you are of everything you've ever wanted, even if an unkind heart has led you to believe otherwise.
The wolf of light or the wolf of darkness? I'll feed a little bit of both because I like the dark.
There's the book, The Tale of Two Wolves.
It's backwards, but that's beautiful.
I'm dyslexic.
What's your camera? Who's it by?
We've talked a lot. We are sort of falling imbalance here. We've talked a lot about people who work too much. Can you have too much of life in the work-life balance?
If you've got bills to pay, you're supposed to work and you don't.
Yeah.
Down the other path where we
So I think how that shows up in coaching clients is like maybe the people who experience like a failure to launch kind of thing, or they're wanting to start their own careers, but they're sort of encountering blocks along the way, or they want to start a new endeavor, I guess, in general, because I think we're limiting the idea of work to like the 9-to-5 jobs. Work is, in a more general sense, is like what am I supposed to do? What am I obligated to do? So work could be, taking care of a family member. Work could be, volunteering. I had a client that their volunteering opportunities was another facet of work.
Sure. I just mean, can somebody just be on too much vacation? Like, that can happen. I think that can happen where somebody can fall too far to the side of that personal indulgence. And I think that could sort of throw you out of whack, right? I think it could also lead to depression and a number of other things.
And bankruptcy.
And all kinds of issues can happen from falling on that side. So I do feel like a little like sometimes we get stuck in this feeling that work is a negative thing, but it does serve its purpose.
Hold on, I got a question about that then, which people might have different opinions on. Is working, whatever your definition of work, a natural inclination of people? Do people want to work or have a purpose? Or if all of my needs were taken care of, like let's say I was a rich person, won the lottery, whatever, and I just didn't have to work, would there be an imbalance if I just vacationed all the time? Or are people going to tend to want to have some sort of purpose where they will find work, whatever,
Well,
how
purpose,
that sort of...
purpose doesn't have to be work, but yeah, I think purpose is a big piece of what allows someone to feel at peace with themselves.
The human condition.
Yeah.
Unless you're a narcissist.
And don't we have an innate desire for like mental like stimulation? Like Sai says, you wouldn't be stretching yourself, right? I mean, you're not going to have anything that you're using your, I don't know, brain for, really. I mean, right? You're just relaxing all the time, or you're just,
Yeah,
Let's play with that. Let's play with that for a second.
Uh-huh.
So, as a very, very fundamental capitalist, I'll own it. I love capitalism. Let's go back to before the exchange of currency for goods, and before currency even existed.
Mm-hmm.
People lived.
Still allowed to work.
Yeah, they still work.
Did they? Did they?
Yeah.
They had to provide for their basic needs in tilling fields or building shelter, but did they work? They lived. They did things that provided for their living. That eventually has changed into the exchange of revenue for commerce. That we then have this thing called work that goes over top of it all, and we feel obligated to somebody to receive income for that so that we can live our lives in a certain way. But if there wasn't an exchange of monetary return for the doing of the doing, we'd still live. We put all these labels and ideas on how we're supposed to live, or to live at a certain strata of achieve a certain lifestyle and what that requires. But still, it's living.
I think, though, too, in any social construct, where people, like, you think about it, if there's a group of people, eventually people create jobs for themselves. Like, this group of people is going to go do the laundry. This group of people is going to go,
Right.
get food. This group of people is going to take care of the kids. This one, you know what I mean? Like, you create these, and I mean, whatever you call it, it's responsibility, right? Is what it is.
Responsibility or choices. We go into those different sections because maybe that's where the purpose comes in, as those who were the ones taking care of the children were the more natural nurturers. So they were drawn to that pod, where the others might be the more natural farmers. They were drawn to that pod, and we fulfilled roles, which we still do. But now are we putting the lifestyle idea above the natural role that we might be inclined to, and saying, I have to go do this because I'll earn more money at it, rather than doing the thing I love because I've got some story that I can't make money at that?
I think that's probably where you're going to see the life balance intruding on the work balance, probably, because then people's ideas of like, okay, this is what I want my personal life to be, but I need to work or do something I'd rather not be doing to achieve that.
Like,
So,
I mean, I love my kids, but I didn't want to change diapers. But that was work, and I knew that if I didn't change the diapers, it'd be pretty bad. So I think all of, even back to wherever time you went, Dan, they were working, because I'm sure in many cases there were other things they would rather be doing. And I'm not saying that work is always negative, but I think that there's like, we do certain things so that we can have this or that, or do this or that. And that's just been the stigma, right? Of like, that's what work is. Like, now I love my work, but there's still pieces of my work that I have to do in order to love my work. Right?
Pieces that you get to do in order to
Honestly, though,
I'm with Anthony.
yeah, I was about to say thing. Flying an airplane, that's work for me. I have to do it.
I know Well, and I know for a fact that anything can become work, because I started playing video games. I love playing video games. I like streaming. I like talking to people. But the moment I had to be at a certain place at a certain time, and I had to do it, because I committed to do it, and people were expecting me to be there, it became work, right? Like that.
Yeah.
And there are certain things I have deliberately not ever done, like made it a responsibility, because I wanted it to stay leisure. Like I wanted it to stay a pleasure, a creative pleasure that I could indulge in. But the moment I can't, it's something I'm doing all the time, it stops becoming an indulgence. So you almost need the ability to not do it in order to appreciate when you can do it.
And I'll add, I've been doing, show you, Duolingo and learning my Portuguese, and it was really fun for a while. And then it got hard, and I was making mistakes, and I wasn't able to keep up with the rules and the levels, and it's like it's not as enjoyable as it was at the beginning.
That's it. Misha's going to be teaching classes in Portuguese now.
Well, we got to start with French and Spanish first. And then go to Portuguese.
The neat thing is you can push through those boundaries sometimes, then it can be fun again, right? When you get to utilize that Portuguese in Portugal or Brazil, it will be fun again, right? Like
even just telling myself at the end of my 15 minutes every day, I learned something new. It's okay. Like reminding myself, okay, nobody's nerfect. I'm good. It's all good. Just keep going.
Nobody's nerfect. I love it.
I didn't make it up. That's from The Office.
But I do similar. Like when I know there are things that I'm going to go into when I'm doing like aerial. I'm learning new things. I'm learning new skills. There are moments that are going to suck, and I'm going to suck, and it's going to feel like work. But I love it at the same time. You know what I mean? There's this deep and passionate love for it.
Yeah.
And the same thing, here, the same thing. I have moments where what I'm doing feels like work. And then there's so much that I deeply and passionately love. And I think that's what deep down we all want for other people, is for them to have a love work balance, where a passion work balance, where even at work, they can enjoy it, and they can feel passionate and excited about going into work every day. But not everybody gets that opportunity, and that's right. A bummer. That's a bummer.
Steve wrote, playing in bands becomes like that. It's all fun and games until you are living in the back of a business for 6+ months. In the back of a bus.
That's going to be fun.
In the bus.
Or business.
It could be in the business, because it's your business to be a band, right? To travel.
In a business. So, yeah. Amen.
Yeah. But not everybody has that choice, right? I mean, they have so many responsibilities, and they do have to go to their, 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. job, or there's 8 a.m. to, or their, 8 p.m. till 8 a.m. So, yeah. It can it's hard for people to find that balance and get into a positive framework and support themselves in knowing that they're doing what they have to do so they can do what they want to do. But a lot of people don't know what the want to do is. Like, they've lost their identity. They don't know who they are. Like, I know when I was a mom and a teacher and a spouse, and I didn't know who I was for me. Right. So finding the things that I love to do was really difficult. And I went to work and I was a teacher. I came home and I was a mom and a wife. And it's like, where was I in all of this? And it took me getting out of myself and getting the opportunity to explore a little bit, even if it was once a week for 20 minutes, figuring out, who's Misha? What do I want to do with me?
Who's that kitty, by the way?
This is Flash.
Oh, it is Flash. Okay.
This is Flash. Yep.
We've got a lot of cats on screen tonight. I think I should balance it out with the dog.
Yeah. The topic of the day is balance.
A lot of mammals on screen.
We're gonna balance. Basically a baby.
Yeah, big old baby. So it looks like Flash is too.
Flash is 13. He showed up in my backyard in Kansas City, and he's been with me ever since.
Nuzzles.
He's my buddy.
So we're in the end of our time here with the nuzzling kitties and the doggies. Final thoughts?
Now we just need babies.
I'm done. Not helping you with that one. Yep.
We got Joe, who's going to have a baby soon.
That's right.
Joe, we need Joe to bring his baby on here.
Well, Joe's not. Joe's wife is, but
No, he's having one too.
Oh my God.
You gotta be in that relationship when there's a baby coming. You're both pregnant. I'm sorry. It's just-
Absolutely. I've seen it happen. The bellies pop out on both people. It's called empathy.
Certainly
Empathy.
easier for the man in that situation. All right. Final thoughts, everybody, for work-life balance.
Do it.
Okay. Good. Brooke, you get one sentence.
Do it.
Dan.
Choose yourself.
Okay. Misha.
Find joy in everything you do, even if it's just one moment each day.
That was a
Jen.
long sentence.
But it was a sentence. Thank you very much.
We're not adding critiques into this, Jen.
I know. Thank you, Anthony.
You know, work-life balance doesn't really resonate with me, but work-life boundaries does. So I just want to offer that concept in case that resonates with anyone.
Okay, that was kind of a long sentence. Let's reel it in just a little bit. Jerome.
We still have 2 minutes. Come on, y'all.
I would say define what balance is to you. I don't even know if we spent a ton of time on defining what balance is. I think we kind of just assume that the audience knows what that is. But I would say define your balance, because it can be something different for each one of us. So,
That is very true.
it's important when it comes to understanding, I think, what you need to maintain to make an environment that successfully provides that balance for you. So
So next week we define balance.
oh,
Yes.
You know, I'd say Jerome is quiet the whole time, and he listens to all of us, and then he comes out with the mic drop. What
Yes.
the heck?
I could have kept going, but you know what? You have to
But
be
it would have been a long
extra for that
sentence.
And people notice too. I've been on the phone and someone says, Jerome, he's quiet, but then he just hits hard at the end there.
Anthony, what about you?
That's it. I got no further thoughts.
Did Dan talk? Did you round up?
Yes.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Everyone said. What are we talking about next week, Brooke?
I was just looking that up. I will tell you. Why don't you remind people to what we do?
Be sure to like, share, subscribe, comment, and check out our classes, Coaching 101, Coaching 102, where you will learn how to be life coach, just like all of these wonderful folks here. And Brooke, next week's topic.
We're going to talk about honesty and the balance between honesty and being too honest.
Ooh.
And
Lying.
what that means and how to walk that line. So,
Yes.
and I think it plays into our coaching space quite a bit as well. So that is what we'll be talking about.
Okay.
All right.
We'll see you guys next Tuesday then.
Yes, we will.
Thank you, Misha.
Bye, everybody.
For being here with us.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Once again, this is brought to you by Certified Life Coach Institute. We're an ICF accredited school who certifies our life coaches in 3-day online intensive courses. In addition to other podcast episodes, feel free to check us out every Tuesday at 4:00 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on YouTube or Facebook for our CLCI Lives, where we get together and discuss various topics that are centered around sharpening your skills so you can become a better certified life coach. For more information, feel free to visit us at certifiedlifecoachinstitute.com. Until next time, be well.